persistent and consistent work ethic that allowed them to, all three of them, to become NCAA Division I starting athletes. Hello and welcome. A unique on-the-spot interview this evening as part of our starting lineup program. And tonight we're going to have an interesting perspective from three student athletes, all of which live in the New Orleans, Louisiana area, all of which I have known since 2011, and all three of which took three very unique paths to the world of college baseball. I'm going to begin by introducing all three one at a time. I'm going to start with Mason Coppins, who's from Jesuit High School, lives in, I don't even want to say, outside of Greater New Orleans. Mason, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. I am going to go then to the two Rummel Red Raiders. I have first Darren Willis and second Caleb Roper. Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. I first of all appreciate you guys on short notice. I really wanted to do this because the three of you share a very unique story line, and that is that I would say none of you, and I will start with you, Mason, were what I would call high school standouts in the eyes of your high school coach or with college recruiting. Would that be accurate, Mason?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I was basically just the pinch runner for junior and senior year over at Jesuit.
And then, Darren, can you tell us a little bit about your Rummel experience with Coach Monica?
Yeah, so I was kind of, I guess, came on the scene pretty early as a freshman. I started, and I was just kind of the defensive guy. I got in, and that was really my role, and then really wasn't believed in by him more than that. So, and then from there, I mean, kind of did everything, but I guess wasn't really didn't have a whole lot of hype around me at that time.
Okay, that would be accurate. Mr. Roper, I know you started your illustrious career as a center fielder at Archbishop Rummel, and tell us a little bit about your high school experience. I believe you were a graduate of high school in 2013 or 14?
Yeah, 14.
So tell us a little bit about your high school experience.
Yeah, similar to Darren, we played together. What were we, 3 years apart, 4? You were a freshman when I was a junior.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar to him, didn't have a whole lot of height. Kind of hard to have height in the New Orleans area because of how big football is. Baseball's kind of an afterthought, especially back when I was in high school. But yeah, like you said, I was an outfielder. I could run around the outfield, catch a fly ball, but when I got in the batter's box, it was no good. Still to this day. So I transitioned to pitching after meeting you. Then I kind of went from there.
So one of the things I want to make sure that parents and student athletes that find their way to this video understand is I am from Boston, Massachusetts. That is where I am today. I moved to New Orleans in 2011 as a way of following my sons. My oldest was playing at LSU Eunice, and my youngest was at Vanderbilt in Nashville. And I settled in Greater New Orleans and started working at a baseball facility, and I had the privilege and honor of meeting these three young men while they were high school student athletes, probably in the late summer of 2011. So I was able to see them grow up and become the men that they are today, and each of them took a very unique path. And I think it's really important for parents and student athletes to understand there is light at the end of the tunnel if you are not a college recruit as a 8th, 9th grader, or even sophomore. The other dynamic that I want to make sure that parents understand is none of these boys played travel baseball of any significance until, I believe, Caleb, you were a junior in high school?
My junior summer going into senior year, yeah.
Okay, and that took an act of God, almost literally, to have your high school coach allow you to play travel baseball. So could you share with families what it was like or what it used to be like with regard to travel baseball in high school as a student athlete in Louisiana.
Yeah, so my situation was kind of funny. Like you said, kind of took an act of God to, you know, get me on that team one, but had permission to play from, my school with Legion baseball and all going on. But yeah, I played with Eagle Shield that summer. I played Legion baseball and high school baseball, my first 3 years of high school, and didn't get much recruiting other than the local junior college or the local D1s that were in the city. But yeah, that wasn't until going into my senior year. So even after my junior year, so I was kind of behind the 8 ball to begin with. And it still worked out. I still got plenty of exposure that summer playing with the Canes. Ended up coming back with an offer or two, and my high school coach still didn't seem to like that for whatever reason.
Well, I think what's important to note here is that prior to Caleb's start of his junior year in high school, he was a center fielder. He was an all-city, all-league center fielder. Struggled somewhat, not as bad as he wants to make it out to be with the bat. And, when I was approached by his mom, dad, and Caleb, about future position at college, I felt that it would be as a pitcher due to his arm strength. And so, he took a very different path that ended up paying dividends, and we'll get a little bit more into that in a little bit. But, I want to go over to you, Mace, and I want to talk about Jesuit High School. Much like many Catholic schools here in the Northeast, is an all-boys school in Greater New Orleans, steeped in tradition both academically and athletically. But trying to find your way onto the playing field was probably a little bit of a challenge. And I would venture to say, it would be fair to say that your high school coach didn't think you would even be able to play at the junior college level in your own backyard. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that certainly would be accurate. Not many people at Jesuit thought I had the potential or the ability to play at a high level. I think one thing that really did change that was, working with you, going over hitting, really breaking things down, and then your ability to just get me exposure with travel ball as well as with prep school at Salisbury, which was, a lifelong experience, something I'll never forget. I was able to meet people from across the world doing that, as well as, play with some of the best players in the country. I was able to play with, people like Jonathan India, who won a Rookie of the Year. I was able to play with Jeremy Pena as well. So, just coming from Jesuit, not having anyone really believe in me, it was, certainly a whirlwind to be able to play with those types of athletes and go to those places. And, that really was because of you helping me get exposure that I wasn't getting at Jesuit.
Well, I think I want to let people know, and each of these young men have fantastic stories of perseverance, persistent and consistent work ethic that allowed them to, all three of them, to become NCAA Division I starting athletes almost immediately as college freshmen and sophomores. That's one. Two, all three had professional ability. Two of the three, I would say, had some injuries or setbacks, some due to, D. Willie with regard to COVID, but Mason with a knee. And then Caleb is still pitching professionally. So I want to let all parents understand this story is unique because all these boys are from the same area. None of these boys knew who I was prior to 2011. Neither did their families. I want to go back to you, Mace. I remember sitting at your house with Mom and your Uncle Kirk, and when I started to talk about post-grad schools, I thought your mom was going to punch me because I think she thought it was like a school for, rough students, kind of like a little inmate type of thing. And then when I told her where it was and that you were from Louisiana and had never seen a snowflake, but post-grad school back then was something very, very different. It's very prominent now, but you took a leap of faith. Can you talk about, just from a school perspective, how postgraduate school was for you as a student?
It was eye-opening. It was a great experience. Like I said earlier, I was able to meet some people from all across the world. I was able to play with some high-level athletes, and just to get to experience something like that before college was really important, especially going into my freshman year of college. For example, I had to, go across the campus to do my own laundry. I wouldn't really be doing that as a senior in high school at home. I really had to acclimate myself to living away from home, which certainly helped that when I transitioned into college, I was already comfortable living away from home, and all I had to do was just translate the baseball piece into college. So, from that aspect, it was a fantastic experience. And just from a lifelong experience, like I said, I met friends that I still talk to today. I'm going to my prep school roommate's wedding this summer in the Hamptons. So, still keeping into contact with those people. It was, great experience.
I want to now turn my attention over to Darren Willis. And Darren, I kind of wanted to share your story last because when I owned the facility and all three of you came into the facility in Louisiana, I would say out of all three of you, Darren was always in there, whether you had practice, you didn't have practice. It was always you and your dad. You would spend hours in there. But one of the things that always struck me and I took pride, was your work ethic. You would never take no for an answer. And your high school coach would literally say to me that I was selling dollars and dreams because you would never be able to hit at the college level. In fact, his quote to me was, if he can't hit at the high school level, how can he possibly hit at the college level? And how can I tell a college coach that he is a guy that should be recruited? And I'm sure he loved you, but he didn't love your offense. But you went on to be a 4-year starter at the University of New Orleans. In fact, you're one of, I think I looked up the number earlier today, one of 23 student athletes that had hit 2 grand slams in a Division I game. And that's quite an accomplishment for a guy that was told he wouldn't be a hitter in college. But talk a little bit about your journey from high school and then ultimately finding your way onto a Division I campus.
Yeah, so my freshman year, I was starting on varsity, and then I started getting to the travel ball stuff with you, and then once I got in there, it was almost like I was getting a little bit of what Caleb got. You almost got blackballed. Like, I was being told quotes like you just said to us, that I would never compete at that level. I would never be able to handle that level. And it kind of all happened so fast, and I didn't understand it because I was being told that, and then being given attention from Division I coaches, and it just wasn't adding up. So I just kept playing, kept competing and working, just showed up every day and stayed consistent. That was the most important thing. Whether it was a good day or bad day, I just stayed consistent and kept showing up. And then I kept getting more and more exposure and attention. And then when it got to college, it was almost the same situation. My high school career, my college career is very similar. Started out in college, I guess, the same way. Hitting was a little bit of a struggle. And then halfway through my freshman year, I kind of figured it out. And then from then on, I just kept doing the same thing, kept showing up, working hard, and it paid off.
Well, I want parents to understand that these are 3 men of character. I knew them as young teenagers. Now they are, one of which is married, but they're now men. They're college graduates. Caleb Roper still plays professionally. This year, I believe, AAA for the Chicago White Sox. And Caleb, what I would like you to explain is talking about taking that leap of faith talking to a guy from Boston, hearing him tell you, you know, you're going to make a position change, that you didn't have to play Legion baseball, or there was an actual pathway that you could take that would allow you to live your dreams, and you've lived it, and you're still living it to this day. Can you talk a little bit about the college experience for you, you know, as well as now your professional experience?
Yeah. So when you came down to New Orleans, you know, you kind of introduced not just me, but like Mason and Darren can attest to this too. Like a whole new world of baseball that like we didn't know about just because it wasn't a popular thing in New Orleans. Because all we knew was high school ball and then Legion ball in summer. Um, so once you kind of explained that to me, made the transition to the mound, you know, everything kind of started building out from there, and I started getting more exposure and whatever. So I ended up going to University of Arizona. I committed there, backtracked a little bit, had surgery my senior year of high school. After my first outing my senior year, I blew out, had Tommy John surgery. So my whole senior year of high school was a wash, and so was my whole freshman year of college. But luckily, I had already committed at this point, signed my NLI, all that good stuff. So I got to Arizona. I rehabbed my whole freshman year, so I'm kind of already behind the eight ball as far as, you know, earning playing time, all that kind of stuff. So freshman year ends, we get a whole new coaching staff going into my sophomore year. You know, still kind of building back, rehabbing from surgery. Kind of had some other complications just because of how traumatic my injury was. You know, kind of set my shoulder back a little bit. Still kind of fell behind the eight ball in my sophomore year. Beede wasn't there really. You know, everything just wasn't very sharp. So I ended up throwing, I think, only one inning that whole year. So at this point, I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? You know, this is before the transfer portal and all that good stuff of today's age. So I ended up transferring to junior college for a year, which was probably the best decision I ever made. You know, I kind of talked to you about that as well when we were going through the whole process of it. And, you know, you kind of opened my eyes to shut out some of the doubt that I was having in my own head at that time was, if I can't play in college, yada, 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 I'll never play a professional. And one thing you and my dad both told me was, because I was hesitant on which junior college to go to. And one thing you and my dad both said was, if you can't go to this junior college and be the guy, because I was all concerned about how many pitchers they had and, you know, how if I was going to get innings there or whatever. Yeah, both told me if you can't go and be the guy there, what makes you think you can go and be the guy another year at a D1 level or in the professional level? So, you know, that kind of motivated me enough to, you know, go to one of the top junior college programs, end up having a really good year there, and then ultimately transferring over to Tulane for my final 2 years of college. So ended up spending 5 total years in college before I even got a chance at pro ball.
I think it's important to note that, Caleb, you were a weekend starter at both San Jac and Tulane, the last 2 years at Tulane, and ultimately was drafted by the White Sox as a pitcher and still pitched to this day. But safe to say that you obtained a quality college degree through the vehicle and platform of baseball. Would you agree?
I would agree. And, you know, one thing that I keep in mind all the time is like, you know, throughout this whole process, you know, we all have similar situations, and I try not to think of it too much as like, all right, go out and prove everybody wrong. You know, I think Case Keenum said it one time. It's been one of my favorite quotes ever, is that don't look at it through a lens of going out and proving everyone else wrong. Going to your work and, you know, what you're trying to accomplish, trying to prove the ones that believed in you right. Like you, my parents, you know, my family, everybody that, you know, was kind of in my corner the whole time, like trying to prove them right rather than, you know, proving somebody wrong.
And I want to go make sure, Mason, I get this in, because parents and student athletes always are worried about what's going on in front of them, who's signing, who's getting drafted. And you were kind of that kid when you were younger, and, I think I'm better than that guy, and you were right. But I want to let parents know, when Mason said he was a pinch runner in high school, he might have got a collective total of 40 innings over 4 years as a Jesuit Blue Jay. He went on to play in the Cape Cod League. He was told by his high school coach, as well as his college coach his freshman year when I was helping him get into Northeastern, "You're a great fielder, but you can't hit. Why don't you let everybody know that you won a Silver Slugger Award at the Cape Cod League and you hit .310 and you were a 4-year starter in college? Tell us a little bit about your college experience, both at Northeastern University as well as the Cape Cod League."
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might have been, I think 40 innings might be generous there. It may have been closer to 20, to be honest. But yeah, so to get going with college, yeah, like to your point, my freshman year was a bit of a struggle. I did start the first 15 or so games, but we were playing down in South Carolina. I had an injury to my left leg. I had a contusion, and that really set me back for my first year. I was in and out of the lineup from there. Towards the end of the year, I didn't play, and that's because my bat was starting to lag. And to Darren's point, that work ethic, that's kind of where that comes into play. You can either listen to those people, listen to your own head coach saying, "Hey, if you want to transfer, I'll let you transfer. You can go wherever you want." I told him, "I'm not transferring. You're going to start me next year. Like, I'm going to be your starting center fielder. I'm not going anywhere." And, you just have to, put your head down and believe in yourself and trust those people that believe in you to, that's a great quote that Case Keenum had there, Caleb. And that certainly does apply to, I think, all of us here. I think we all took that mentality and really ran with it. And that's why I think we were all successful, in our own ways. But then, I worked on my bat, worked on, the little things and paid attention to the details. And I was able to play sophomore year, played most of that season. I hit, about 260. So not where I really wanted to hit. But, I took that summer and I really focused in on, swinging the bat. I went down to a league in Maryland where, I woke up, I hit for an hour, went to the gym. Later, I played a game, woke up, did the same thing every single day for 2 summers. And I played well in that league down in Maryland. And towards the end of that season, the Cape Cod League called me, Chatham Anglers, and they said, "Hey, we have an open roster spot. If you want to come finish the season with us, we'd be more than happy." So I got on a plane that day, and I was there by the night. And I, played the next 15 games, played as hard as I could, hustled, did the little things, and they liked that. And then they invited me to play the next summer. So with that experience with the Cape, that really did escalate me into my junior year. And, the game really did slow down after that. These guys are just all, professional level athletes, even at that point in their careers. So what that really did was, like I said, allow me to slow down the game. And that helped me going into my junior year where, I hit 300 that year. It was my first really breakout year with the bat. I also got a Gold Glove finalist award my junior year. And then that summer, I jumped into the Cape Cod League again and, had a great year with the bat. It was all clicking then. Unfortunately, had a leg injury at the very last game. I fell the ball off my shin, fractured my shin, and it took a really long time to get back from that because I will get into it, like the scar tissue, they couldn't find the fracture, and it just took a long time to heal. So that did kind of set me back with the draft. But, that is not a problem. I had a great experience in the Cape. Like I said, I got to play with some fantastic athletes, like a dozen people that are playing in the MLB today. And almost every one of my teammates got drafted at some point. So it was a great experience, the Cape and college. But, that work ethic, to Darren and to Rib's point, was the number one thing that I think drove.
I want to let people know that these are young men that, against tremendous odds, they literally went from little to no playing time on a national level to playing at the Division I level. And when I say playing, I mean competing for 4 years as college athletes. I think each of you were all-stars within your league. Is that accurate, Darren and Rope?
Yes.
Caleb?
Pro Bowl?
And Tulane.
Oh, I didn't. In the summer league you're talking about?
All conference with
Oh,
at oh yeah. Like no big thing.
know what you were talking.
And I know, Mr. Coppins, you were a conference all-star as well. Darren, I would love for you, if you could, you've told us about high school, but with regard to college, how you finished your career, I think, was absolutely amazing. You had gone from somebody that college coaches, high school coaches didn't think you would hit, to a potential draft pick, and you finished off your career in a flurry, as I alluded to earlier, with regard to your Grand Slams. But you kind of have seen UNO go back from Division I to Division III, and then while you were there, Division I. Tell us a little bit about your last year in college and that experience during that tournament game where you hit the 2 Grand Slams.
When I still see videos of it, I still don't believe that it even happened. I mean, from the start of my career, I felt like I was playing like stressed out. I took it so serious, I didn't enjoy it. And then as I started to mature throughout college, I met other people and saw how they played. And then a role model that came into my life was Johnny J. Vitella. He was our coach for a season. So he was big on just relaxing and playing. So once he got there and I learned how to do that, I played so much better. And then when it came to that game, it was a, win or go home. I didn't have a choice whether to enjoy it or not. So I can't even explain what I was feeling. I feel like I went to sleep and woke up around at second base. That was crazy.
It's one thing to hit 1 Grand Slam in a playoff game or a conference tournament game. It's another to hit 2 in the same game. So it had to be a tremendous feeling. I know your dad and your mom were fired up, would be an understatement.
Oh yeah, one of our family members was actually going to the car, and the second one I hit, they caught it in the parking lot. Yeah, so it all worked out.
You have both of those baseballs?
I have both of them.
Well, I'd like each of you, if you could, in closing, to if you could go back to being a high school athlete, back to those time periods when things were a little bit tough, what would you tell your younger self now after going through the whole experience and looking back from being a college athlete to being a high school athlete? I'm going to start with you, Mason. What would you tell your younger self in today's world that you would kind of do differently?
I would say to just slow down, enjoy it, because it comes to an end. And then I would also say, don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself and work on what you need to work on. And, just work hard. Always work hard. Have a good attitude, and do the little things. And, I think that's what I would tell myself.
Mr. Roper, what would you tell the previous version of yourself?
Piggyback off a bit what Mason said, it was, being the best version of yourself. You always get caught up in, oh, this guy's throwing harder than me. This guy, has more power than me at the plate. I got to try to be better than him. But, you got to focus on what you do good, what you can do great, and, kind of be the best version of yourself going forward. But the biggest thing I would tell my younger self was, in regards to recruiting and, trying to get to the next level, is don't chase the big school. Go where you're wanted, go where you're going to play. Because that's the main thing is getting on the field first. And then, if you're performing anywhere you perform, they're going to find you. Especially with how recruiting and scouting is nowadays, it don't matter where you're at. the junior college I went to, the team we played in the championship had the most draft picks of any baseball team at any level that year in junior college. So you don't have to be at the big D1 school to be drafted, and just go where you're wanted is what I would say.
Yeah, that's a great point.
D. Willie.
I would tell myself just to breathe, relax. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's journey is going to be different. There's no right time things are going to happen. I went from worried about if I was going to have a starting job in high school, college, and then time flies by and all of a sudden I'm at a draft combine, possibly playing professional baseball. And, sometimes I didn't enjoy it because I was so worried about things. So that's all I would say.
Well, I think in light of today's world, as all of these young men have talked about, the transfer portal was around and it was just as viable as it is today, but none of these young men jumped away or shied away from adversity. They competed, they were consistent and persistent with their daily routines, and they were determined to see it through to the end. And I think very easy today to, if you're not getting your own way, to kind of pack up and go try to find greener pastures. That's not what you need to do. You need to understand who you are, what you're capable of, and what you feel your best is, and then work towards that on a daily basis. To each one of you guys, I am honored to call you friends. I know the journey. In fact, Caleb, interestingly enough, when you got hurt, I was actually with Mason's mom. We were at Vanderbilt for a tournament, and my phone blew up, and that's when you hurt your arm. And Mason's mom could attest to this. I was sick for the whole weekend. I didn't enjoy anything because, I got that. I knew the Joey Cab thing would jump off at me, and I would begin taking arrows from, everybody in New Orleans.
Was that your fault?
It was my fault. No, it was. And it was even in the paper, I think, in the Times-Picayune, where it was Walter Beede's fault. But I will tell you, I enjoyed being part of your process, your journey. I look forward to our text messages. It was a great part of my experience as a baseball dad, being able to be around you guys at the high school level while my boys were, off playing college baseball. So to that, I say thank you to each one of you. I hope that parents can take away from each one of the stories that you heard here tonight. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And each of these boys exemplifies that times 1,000. So gentlemen, best of luck this coming season. I wish you nothing but success in your future. Thank you for joining me, and I'm sorry for being tardy with technical issues, but I'm not tech savvy, as you guys all know.
Yeah, we know that. It's okay.
All right, guys.
Thanks for having us.
You're very, very welcome. Please say hello to all your parents, and if there's anything you guys need from me, just reach out and let me know.
Yeah, so,
all right, guys. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Bye now.